I love what you say about it's not just about memorization, because at some point memorization only takes us so far, right? Only so far in life, and then we kind of stop.
Yeah.
And your second grade teacher, to me, sounds like she's really teaching these concepts towards mastery,
Correct.
which is really going to help the kids go further.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They are going from grade to grade now with greater understanding than they had before. And so now, instead of just walking into their math classroom and, getting out a piece of paper and all the things, they don't really do that anymore.
That's okay.
They're up, they're talking to their peers, they're explaining mathematical concepts, they're talking about how they are thinking about this problem, the things that are missing, the things that they need to know more about in order to solve the problem effectively. But it's not just about the way they solve the problem. Everybody else is thinking about maybe the problem in a different way, and they still come up with the same answer. So now, as they're sharing with each other, you'll hear kids say, "Oh, I didn't think about it that way. Thank you for sharing. Oh, I solved it this way." And then the conversations then become rich, right? Instead of just 5, I have the answer, 5.
Yeah,
it's not like that anymore.
Right. What you're explaining to me about your second grade teacher reminds me of these 8 standards of mathematical practices. There's 2 that come out in particular. One is the SMP 2, and I just nickname it my thinking. It's that time that kids are just individually thinking on their own, but without what I'm hearing you, paper and pencil. They're building things. They might be drawing, etc., on their own, and then they get into this discourse. And they're talking with each other about their own thinking, and it turns into this our thinking piece. And so that component of what your second grade teacher is doing is really transforming the culture of your classroom. Instead of just saying 5, right?
Yeah.
There's this whole discussion about why that answer is 5.
And now that doesn't just happen in isolation. Like it used to. My 5th and 6th grade teacher is the math teacher, and she was really the person behind the scores continuing to rise at first. And then as we brought more of our teachers onto the next gen math platform and really understanding, like you said earlier, the priority clusters and the gold standards and all the things that are really the most important, one by one, classrooms started transforming. And now it's not just happening in pockets of isolation. It is literally happening from kindergarten through grade 8 at Hope Elementary. And it's super amazing to watch. And our test scores now, we're not just about test scores, but we are about kids understanding the concepts and being able to apply them in their real world setting. And so what we're seeing now is just that kids are able to apply mathematics in a way that's not just rote memorization. They're not just answering what's the answer to 4 + 1? 5. No, it's not like that. I got 5 because you told me that Johnny and Mary and shared 2 cookies. Whatever it is. It's just different, and it's super fun to watch.
That's fantastic. As I envision that classroom even more, I think about you have the building of the math, kind of the build it, show it, know it, all that conceptual understanding. They transfer it over to the numbers. This is why the numbers make sense now, because they built it, showed it, know it. But there's always the stimulus, and the stimulus is the question, right? And so our platform definitely delivers some high quality questions, but your 5th grade teacher, I would imagine that the students are still coming in with some deficits. We have something in the platform progression playlist.
Oh, yes.
And so I'm wondering, how has that progression playlist helped with, let's say, a 5th grade or 4th grade teacher that has students whose learning needs are not at grade level, but we need to get them there?
Yeah. So that progression playlist is super important to especially my upper grade teachers, because they're able to hone in on maybe the standards that they have missed from the grades prior. But the great thing about that is that there's a place at Next Gen Math for them to be able to practice those things. So all the teachers have to do is go in and kind of put an assessment together with all of those
stems.
And now they're able to, pull kids back in a small group setting, able to kind of reteach those stems that they missed prior, able to assess that in the platform. And now we have a record of, are they able to now understand, or do we still need to work on these things? And what's great about Next Gen is we have a record of all of that. So
yeah. So let's talk about data a bit. So what data do you look at as a superintendent? What data do you see that is meaningful to you?
It's all meaningful to me, but it can't just be meaningful to me, and it can't just be meaningful to the staff. It has to be meaningful to the kids.
Love it.
And so they are shown their data at every time they take an assessment. They are logging their data in. So a lot of my teachers utilize, Canva, and they have created the kind of a slide, and they go in and mark their Next Gen Math scores.
Okay.
So if they take an assessment, like a daily warm-up assessment, they're logging it in themselves on their platform. We can be the keepers of the data all day, every day. But if we're the only keepers and the data only matters to us, the data is only going to go so far. The data really has to matter to the kids. So they have to be the ones interacting with it all the time. They have to be knowledgeable about how they scored, why they scored that way, and what they're going to do to fix that, and what commitments they're going to make then to ensure that their learning is not stagnant. Like, they have to set goals. Our kids all set goals around all the things, math, ELA, writing, all the things. But they have to own that data.
Yeah. I'm really learning right now at the feet of Melanie about the student piece, how important that is, that they're putting in the reps each day, they're owning their data, they're owning their course of their learning. And I would imagine some days are better than others, with the sloppy learning.
Yes.
But with that consistency, we're definitely seeing trends at Hope. And so what's the trend that you're seeing from last year to this year with, you've brought in project management this year to be more strategic. What trends are you seeing now for this past year?
Positive trends. So we're trending. So we just took our CASP assessment and we're trending upwards. We are seeing, like in my third grade classroom, who was consistently scoring in between 40 and 50% proficient. This last year, because of our strategic partnership, 75% proficient.
Oh my goodness. Okay, this is fascinating to me because there's always this time conversation that we have at times with, let's say, kids arriving to the classroom maybe a year behind or so. And the reality is that they fall, to me, in a broad scope, they fall behind, let's say 15 minutes a day because they just need a little bit of extra time, or maybe 15 minutes of something different, figuratively speaking. What I'm hearing you say is that that first instruction is really designed with a lot of intentionality now, so using some really good data to focus on, the high quality essential standards. So that way we're not having to have perhaps maybe not as much intervention in the day now.
Right, correct.
So how does that transfer to, let's say, your third grade environment or other grade levels as far as, your teachers' confidence, competency? I'm not sure if your teacher has seen that score or not, but just imagining, what is that conversation like with your third grade teacher?
It's huge. So we always talked about our first best instruction, right? Those buzzwords. But it really is now our first best instruction the first time.
Right.
It really is. I mean, that third grade classroom, again, that was another page turner teacher. And it wasn't anybody's fault, really. It's just kind of what felt most comfortable. But sometimes we have to go outside of our comfort zone if we really want to go to that next level. And that's exactly what we had to do. I went to Aaron and I said, Aaron, we need something different. because we cannot continue to be status quo over here.
Yeah.
We want something better. My teachers are hungry for it. The kids are absolutely hungry for it. And so what can we do differently now to ensure that we're giving our kids quality instruction the first time so that kids aren't being left behind?
Yes. So I'm hearing you talk about awareness. I mean, it's like, and I definitely resonate with your situation, page turner to standards base, building that awareness. But it's also a lot of courage to, once you're aware, you go for
do action.
You go for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I would imagine as a leader today, tell me how you feel as a leader, what your kids are doing, what your teachers are feeling at this time.
Yeah. Right now, we're all feeling super confident because we all have the tools now to be able to give great instruction the first time. And we weren't as confident because we were just okay with being okay. We're not okay with being okay anymore.
Yeah.
And as we continue to analyze our math scores, and knowing that, we're kind of seeing this around 50% stagnant over the last 4 years. What do we need to do differently? How do we need to teach differently? What are the tools that we need in our tool belt to be our most effective?
Awesome. Melanie, I just want to thank you so much for this moment. I mean, you are the superintendent of Hope Elementary School. We're having a lot of fun with that name early on, that Hope's a great place for kids to go to. Hope might not necessarily be a strategy, but you know what? I think we flipped it. Hope definitely has a strategy. I'm hearing a lot of great things that's going on. Your district, your board, your teachers and students, I'm sure, are super proud to have you as their leader for these last 8 years to grow and lead that effort. And I applaud your courage in taking that step forward because you saw awareness and did something.
And because when I walked into the district, we were one of the lowest performing schools in our county. Now we're one of the highest.
There you have it. Melanie Matta, Hope Elementary. Love it.
Thank you.